Okay guys, check out my new OC. He's basically a god and completely impervious to anything you throw at it.
Wow. That looks like ass.
In the age of the internet, it's never been easier to create your own character. From murderous deer to hypersaturated webcomics, it seems like everyone's got a unique character they want to show the world. Though let's be honest, not all characters are created equal. Some seem to just ooze style like they're not even trying. Others just fall flat on their face and reek of desperation. It's something that's really easy to notice, but hard to understand. When you see an OC that makes you cringe, it's often hard to pinpoint what makes you feel that way. To the creator, it's an extension of themselves. To others, it's a glimpse at someone with no introspection. And this isn't a criticism of amateur art, it's a critique of those who choose not to improve, or those who are just way too inept. So let's start with the basics. So what makes an OC boring? One of the first things you're going to want to make when creating a character is a story to go with them. There is no design that's so iconic that it stands on its own without a story. Behind every OC is the story that got them there. Let's take a look at Superman. On paper, this character is completely uninteresting. He's overpowered. He has unwavering compassion for humanity, and his only weakness is difficult to obtain and use effectively. What a perfect guy, right? Well, not really. Just looking at him as if he was a normal OC, this would go right alongside some supersonic fanfic OCs. Yet, here we are. Superman is an iconic DC character. His most famous stories have to deal with moral dilemmas and doing the right thing in the face of adversity and consequence. It all comes back to the stories told about him. It captured the minds of millions. The story supersedes the OC. And all this plays back into your work as an artist. Your characters mean more when they struggle. They gain a sense of humanity when they're forced to push their boundaries. This plays a huge part for my next point. Being overpowered makes your character suck. When we were kids, we all had those friends who would endlessly make new rules just so they could win. No matter what you throw at them, they always have a counter to it. This is how it feels to a reader when they see your OC as a demigod who's impervious to all attacks, physically and mentally. It's just a bad character. You can't expect a flawed human to empathize with a perfect being. It's similar to painting a perfectly smooth surface. There's nothing to grip onto. When a character is capable but flawed, we see part of our own humanity in them. It creates a strong bond to see them struggle and succeed. A big part of this is the change they'll have to go through. A character with no flaws doesn't have to improve, so there is no journey. It's frustrating to the audience because it feels like a waste of time. Usually you can characterize these OCs as a Mary or Gary Sue. It's just a term for a character that never changes or improves because they are already the greatest of all time, or they were just handed the power without struggle. It just makes your character not matter to anyone. Now, why do you want your character to matter? It seems like it should be obvious, but seriously, what are you trying to get out of them? Is it just a character for your own self-fulfillment? Sometimes it's very satisfying to make an OC that embodies everything you like, though it might not be the most appealing to others. If you're trying to go for a more appealing character, you want to make them feel human. They don't often need to be human to exude those qualities. I feel as though an OC with human characteristics that isn't a human creates a stronger connection with the reader. It's like how we as humans tend to empathize with animals more than we do with other humans. This creates the connection, and isn't that exactly why we want our characters to matter? To create something that brings us closer to others and gets them to understand us a little better? When you run out of ideas, you can always start to piece together things from other media that you like. I mean, hell, think about almost any media and you'll probably be able to draw comparisons between it and a few other works that came before it. No art was created in a vacuum, so it's okay to draw from the rest of life and other works. Sometimes you can really see the inspiration behind someone's work, and you can look there first. Let's say you enjoy the work of Guillermo del Toro. It might be good to look at films that inspired him, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You know, the 1930s version. In this example, it shows how the sympathetic monster influenced his work on other things like Hellboy or Shape of Water, and you can pretty much do the same thing with any other artist. For me, the biggest inspirations came from films like Repo the Genetic Opera, Hellboy, the comic, and Judge Dredd. So I usually keep those books by my side when I write or draw. I don't copy anything, but I definitely pull inspiration from it. Where should I focus when creating a new OC? Usually I start with the world they live in. As it stands, this is going to influence parts of their design instead of you having to come up with an excuse for your character being a pink shapeshifter. I think it goes something like this. We draft a design, then we come up with a world, and after that it's down to the side characters. Usually after I have all that set up, I'll go back to the original character and start to rectify parts of the design to better reflect the story I'm trying to tell. It annoys me every time I talk with someone who has a bunch of character designs but no story to go with them. It gives me nothing to grab onto. You could come up with the world's coolest looking character and it would be completely meaningless without the story behind him. A design can only go so far. You really need some substance to the character. So flaws or faults that make him human. This is usually where I'd start when making a character. In the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, he talks about screenwriting and the advice applies even down to the characters. Basically, he talks about irony being a point of intrigue. It immediately pulls someone in when a character's downfall is right on their sleeve. Look at things like CatDog from Nickelodeon. It's immediately going to catch your eye and make you ask, how are they going to get out of this situation? Another question to ask is, who is your audience? Sometimes this is an easy way to start off with a character who can appeal to a specific group. Though again, the same problems from earlier still apply. If you try to appeal to a community without understanding some of the nuances, you'll come off as fake or corporate. It's similar to what AI excretes on the internet. Just the most generic, worthless amalgamations of polished turds you'll ever see. No sharp edges, nothing to bite onto. Just straight up garbage. So you want to put your own ideas into it. Maybe even flip the idea on its head. Usually this will catch the attention of folks who enjoy the work well enough, but are looking for something more. Or you can just follow the trends. That's what most people do. Okay, Coda, check this out. I made an even better OC. You see, it's like me, but cool.
Have you considered getting a job?
Your OC will never appeal to anyone long term unless they have a compelling story. It's not just a matter of good design or perfect silhouettes. It all comes down to making an idea that connects with others. Whether that be making a flawed hero or a villain who's completely understandable, it gives the reader something in common with your OC. It makes them think about your character more than the 2 seconds it took for them to look at it. In conclusion, give your characters a story and eat a cinder block.